Welcome to All Things History.
Do you know that Arthur Wellesley, the general who famously defeated Napoleon at the Battle of Waterloo, also confronted Tipu Sultan, one of the last great Muslim kings of India? Arthur Wellesley, an Anglo-Irish statesman, soldier, and politician, was one of the leading military and political figures of 19th century Britain. He served twice as the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom and is best known for his role in ending the Napoleonic Wars when the Seventh Coalition defeated Napoleon at the Battle of Waterloo in 1815. However, it might surprise you to learn that Wellesley also faced off against Tipu Sultan, known as the Tiger of Mysore. Tipu Sultan, the Tiger of Mysore, was the Indian Muslim ruler of the Kingdom of Mysore based in South India. He was a pioneer of rocket artillery and expanded the iron-cased Mysorean rockets. He commissioned the military manual Fathul Mujahideen and deployed the rockets against advances of British forces and their allies during the Anglo-Mysore Wars, including the Battle of Waterloo and the siege of Seringapatam. Tipu Sultan and his father used their French-trained army in alliance with the French in their struggle with the British, and in Mysore's struggle with other surrounding powers. He won important victories against the British in the Second Anglo-Mysore War, and negotiated the 1784 Treaty of Mangalore with them, ending the Second Anglo-Mysore War. In the Battle of Waterloo, Tipu Sultan inflicted one of the worst defeats the British ever experienced in India. With expert tactics, he managed to rout the British army and obliterate their ranks. Benoit de Beauharnais, a French officer in the service of the 6th Regiment of Madras, wrote, "There is not in India an example of a similar defeat."
Of the men under Bailey's command,
Only 50 European officers and 150 men were taken prisoner after the general massacre. End quote.
William Bailey.
Was taken to Seringapatam.
Bailey and many of his officers were taken to the capital city, in which they were placed in special dungeons. Bailey died in captivity.
The Mysore rockets used during the battle were much more advanced than the British East India Company had previously seen, chiefly because of the use of iron tubes for holding the propellant. This enabled higher thrust and longer range for the missiles. At Waterloo, Mysore rockets restricted the British vanguard movement, skimming along the surface, lacerating troops, and in one specific instance, shattering legs. After Tipu Sultan's eventual defeat in the Fourth Anglo-Mysore War and the capture of the Mysore iron rockets, they were influential in British rocket development, inspiring the Congreve rocket, which was soon put into use in the Napoleonic Wars. Arthur Wellesley is best known for his participation at the Battle of Waterloo, but many people do not know that many years before this pivotal engagement in European history, Arthur engaged in fierce battles with Tipu Sultan. Arthur was a young man who was born in Ireland, not England. He became involved in politics and joined the military as well. He saw some action in Netherlands when the British and other European coalition states were brutally defeated by the French. What ignited his desire to join the military is perhaps even more interesting. On the 31st of October, he transferred to the 18th Light Dragoons, and it was during this period that he grew increasingly attracted to Kitty Pakenham, the daughter of Edward Pakenham, 2nd Baron Longford. In 1793 he proposed, but was turned down by her brother Thomas, 2nd Earl of Longford, who considered Wellesley to be a young man in debt with very poor prospects. An aspiring amateur musician, Wellesley, devastated by the rejection, burnt his violins in anger, and resolved to pursue a military career in earnest. He became a major by purchase in the 33rd Regiment in 1793. Wellesley arrived in Calcutta in 1797 and saw his first action in India during 1798. As part of the campaign to extend the rule of the British East India Company, the Fourth Anglo-Mysore War broke out in 1798 against the Sultan of Mysore, Tipu Sultan. Arthur's brother, Richard, ordered that an armed force be sent to capture Seringapatam and defeat Tipu. During the war, rockets were used on several occasions. Wellesley was almost defeated by Tipu's Diwan at the Battle of Sultanpet, tope. This battle almost ended in a disastrous defeat for Wellesley. Colonel Wellesley, on advancing into the tope, was at once attacked in the darkness of night by a tremendous fire of musketry and rockets. The men floundering about amidst the trees and the watercourses at last broke and fell back in disorder, some being killed and a few being taken prisoners. In the confusion, Colonel Wellesley was struck on the knee by a spent ball and narrowly escaped being captured by the enemy. This would mark the first time Colonel Wellesley and Tipu Sultan would meet each other in battle. However, the second attack, with 4 regiments also under the command of Wellesley, succeeded in taking possession of the grove on the morning of April the 6th. This allowed British forces to advance within 1,800 yards of Seringapatam, and General Harris was able to proceed with his siege operations, the army taking up its final position on the 7th of April. The aftermath of this is aptly described by the military historian Richard Holmes. He made the point that the bitter humiliation of the failed night attack taught Wellesley 2 lessons he would never forget. The first was a military lesson of the importance of reconnaissance before attack, and the second, an emotional lesson about the bitterness of defeat. All in all, he was lucky to get away with it. Had his brother not been Governor-General, Wellesley might have found himself facing a court-martial. Nevertheless, the following day, Wellesley launched a fresh attack with a larger force and took the whole position without any killed in action. This all culminated at the siege of Seringapatam, the 5th of April to the 4th of May, 1799. It accounted for the final confrontation of the Fourth Anglo-Mysore War between the British East India Company and the Kingdom of Mysore. The British, with the allied Nizam Ali Khan, second Nizam of Hyderabad, and Marathas, achieved a decisive victory after breaching the walls of the fortress at Seringapatam and storming the citadel.
On May the 4th, 1799, at 11 a.m., British troops were briefed and given whiskey and biscuits before receiving the signal to attack. 76 men of the Forlorn Hope led the charge, forming columns, fixing bayonets, and moving forward. Meanwhile, Mir Sadiq withdrew the troops at the breach under the pretext of distributing their pay, and no one protested. Loyalist Sayyid Abdul Ghaffar, who was loyal to Tipu Sultan, was brutally killed by a cannonball. After his death, traitors signalled the British with a white handkerchief from the fort. The British stormed across the River Covri and within 16 minutes had scaled the rampart swiftly, overpowering the defenders. Tipu Sultan, despite being ill, chose to fight. He climbed the north rampart with a few followers, fired at the assailants and killed several Europeans. As he attempted to cross to the gate, he was struck by multiple musket balls. He refused his retainer Raja Khan's suggestion to reveal himself to the British, and both fell among the dead and wounded. Tipu was eventually killed by a musket ball to the head while defending himself. Interestingly, Wellesley was the one who checked Tipu's pulse to confirm that he had in fact died in battle. The British found his body in the evening, gave him full honours and buried him next to his father. Tipu Sultan, son of a renowned General Hyder Ali, was a formidable opponent of British rule. His tenacity earned him the nickname the Tiger of Mysore. Upon his death, British General Harris declared, "Now India is ours." Sir Walter Scott praised Tipu's resolute spirit, noting his willingness to die fighting. Tipu Sultan remains a symbol of gallant resistance against colonial expansion, remembered for his military prowess and unwavering dedication to his people's sovereignty. His legacy of bravery and sacrifice continues to inspire admiration and respect, representing the enduring struggle for freedom and independence. If you enjoyed this video, please consider liking and subscribing. And let me know in the comment section what interesting part of history you would like to learn about next.